Local News Live. It is, hold on there, let me get a hold of my script here. It's Wednesday, January 6th, 2020, and you're listening to Local News Live, a production of AOC Community Media in partnership with the Acadiana Advocate. Their team of journalists print the stories important to our community, and we are happy to read you some of those stories. You can hear Local News Live Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. on AOC 1, the AOC Community Media channel on YouTube, and on Cypress Street Radio at aocinc.org/csradio. You can find the print versions of these stories and more at theadvocate.com. We couldn't bring you this community service without the generosity of our volunteer news readers. Today, we're fortunate to be joined by Mr. Bruce Cohen. Good morning, Bruce.
Well, good morning, Matt. Glad to be in the reader's seat.
Well, we're so glad to have you. We got plenty of news, so I'm going to go listen on Cypress Street. Take it away, Bruce. Thanks.
Well, thank you, my man. Appreciate it. Well, good morning, Acadiana. This is Local News Live for January 6, 2020. We'll get right into the news in Acadiana. Acadiana cases grow rapidly by Ben Myers, staff writer. New coronavirus cases once again appear to be spiraling in the 7-parish Acadiana region. The 7-day caseload on Tuesday increased 120% since December 29th, more than triple the increase in tested volume. Although data reporting over holidays is prone to anomalies, increases in the rolling weekly caseload have dwarfed test volumes in 3 days of reporting this week at rates similar to what was seen in July and November. Since December 29th, 12.9% of newly reported tests over 7 days resulted in new cases. That represented a rare 5-point increase since the same day the previous week. And it was the highest mark seen in Region 4 since July 13th. Rebounding COVID-19 hospitalizations in the 7-parish region provided further evidence of a reinvigorated outbreak. Week-over-week increases in hospitalizations had stretched for 7 straight days after slow but steady declines through most of the second half of December, with 216 inpatients as of January 4th. Most recent data available, the number of inpatients was still below the fall-winter peak of 226 on December 2nd, and far below the July peak of more than 300. But the early December hospitalization peak built up over a period of about 4 weeks, starting from a much lower point than the most recent increases. The number of inpatients on November 2nd, 1 month before the most recent peak, was 58. The low mark for December was 172 on the day after Christmas. The gradual easing of the Region 4 fall infection spike appeared to reverse in the days before Christmas, with increased case-to-test rates reported in 6 of 7 parishes as of December 23rd, according to the state's weekly date of tests report on December 30th. The region's largest parish, Lafayette, was the lone Region 4 parish with a steady, albeit still high, case-to-test rate. But that appears likely to change in the next weekly report on Wednesday that will show test results allocated by test date through December 30th. Lafayette's 7-day caseload on Tuesday was more than double what it was on December 29th, exceeding 1,000 for the first time since mid-July. Top Youngsville official retires. Chief Administrative Officer reflects on long career as public service by Megan Wyatt, staff writer. If 2020 taught Simone Chapon one lesson, it's that life is short. That's why at the end of the year, she retired from her position as Youngsville's Chief Administrative Officer. Chapon, a banker-turned lawmaker, said her only immediate plan is to clean her home and enjoy time with her grandchildren. But she's not ruling out the possibility of running for public office again. You will never hear me say never, Chapon said, but as of right now, I have no plans. Now I can help other people run for office. I'm going to stay active politically on all levels, as a matter of fact. Chapon had long discussed with her husband retiring at the age of 66. As that milestone birthday approached in 2020, she wasn't as sure about the timing, A serious car crash in June changed her perspective. We work and we work and we work, Champagne said, but we never know what tomorrow holds. After the accident, it was kind of a little clearer. Champagne and her husband were struck head-on by a vehicle while driving on LA 14 in Iberia Parish. He suffered minor injuries, but she was hospitalized for nearly a month and spent 4 months in a wheelchair after breaking her back in 2 places and suffering from a broken foot and wrist. Champagne still suffers from limited mobility and cannot lift heavy items, but she's made significant progress through rehabilitation. It's been a long journey, but I'll be okay, she said. We're blessed we're alive. Champagne worked as a banker for more than 25 years prior to spending nearly 20 years working as a public servant at the local and state level, all while raising 5 children. I've always been big in the customer service business, Champagne said. Banking is all about that, and government is the same thing. It's all about customer service, or it should be, and people should realize that. I've always felt that it's what we should do, serve people. Champagne served as Chief Administrative Officer of Iberia Parish from 2002 to 2007 and was the first woman to hold the position. From 2008 to 2014, Champagne served as a member of the Louisiana House of Representatives. She's the first and only woman to represent House District 49, which includes Iberia and Vermilion parishes. In 2014, she accepted a position as Youngsville's Chief Administrative Officer. In 2019, while still working in that role, Champagne ran for Lafayette Parish Mayor President, but lost the race to Josh Guillory. It's all made me the person I am today, Champagne said. I went into politics with integrity, and I've come out with that. I felt that I've accomplished that. Champagne was recognized for her work and presented with the key to the city during December's Youngsville City Council meeting. Whether we were in Baton Rouge for leadership, Youngsville, or in the halls of the Capitol of Washington, D.C., she represented Youngsville with charisma, class, with professionalism, and with selfless service, said Youngsville Mayor Ken Ritter. Simone didn't take credit when things go well, and she hasn't received enough credit for our successes or for my success, but she deserves it. As she reflected back on her career, Champagne said her most important achievement was writing and passing legislation that dedicated fines incurred by BP after the oil spill to be used only for Louisiana coastal protection. It took me 3 years to pass the bill, Champagne said, but I never gave up, knowing how important the Louisiana coastline is to so many. Moving on. After I take a sip of tea there, 2 proposals submitted to develop downtown property by Adam Daigle, Acadiana business editor. Only 2 companies have submitted proposals to develop a downtown property adjacent to the Buchanan Street parking garage. Lafayette Consolidated Government received 5 notices from companies that they intended to submit a proposal to develop the 2 parcels of land in early November, but only got 2 proposals by Monday's deadline, an LCG spokesperson said on Monday. 2 proposals are from local real estate broker Chad Orte and Community Directions Incorporated, under an acre, are just south of the garage. One is a L-shaped parcel that connects Jefferson Street, while the other is at the corner of Buchanan and Convent Streets. 2 buildings on these parcels could hold 70 to 90 units, according to the Downtown Development Authority. Last year, LCG saw proposals for the land but asked developers to include plans for the 6-story garage. The 4 bids received were rejected. Community Directions was among 3 proposals, or those 4 proposals, offering to create workforce housing on Convent and Jefferson Streets with rents between $556 and $1,021 a month, with the first and second floors featuring leasable retail and office space. It also included a 7-story building with 58 apartments on Buchanan and Convent Streets and another 7-story building along Jefferson Street with retail and office space on the first 2 floors and 40 apartments on the top 5 floors. Now we'll go into our first public service announcement break for the morning. Keeping calm through the COVID hotline, which is all something we may need at some point during this pandemic. If you're feeling overwhelmed with stress, fear, and anxiety about the pandemic and this public health emergency, there is a special Keeping Calm for COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained, compassionate counselors who can offer support and can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services, preferably in your area. Trained counselors are available 24/7, and all calls are confidential. If you do need the service, please call and reach out to 1-866-310-7977. Continuing with the news, a new year brings new leadership to virtual school. The Lafayette Online Academy Administrator assessing staffing to be first priority by Katie Gagliano, staff writer. The new year is bringing more than a calendar change at the Lafayette Online Academy, where Scott Middle School Principal Venus Swallow has taken over as the program's virtual learning administrator. Swallow took over from Jared Gute, who had been with the academy for about 4 years. Gute resigned from the role effective December 4th, according to district personnel records. Swallow was announced as the program's new leader on December 17th and has managed the virtual program while maintaining her role as Scott Middle's principal until a new principal is appointed, she said. Swallow has been at Scott Middle since 2017 and previously worked as a teacher and administrator at Paulboro Middle and Acadian Middle, a district release said. She has 13 years of experience in education and a master's in educational leadership from the American College of Education, and she spent 14 years in business management before becoming an educator. The Lafayette Online Academy was thrust into the spotlight this year as an alternative to in-school learning for parents apprehensive or afraid to send their children to traditional school because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The virtual learning program's enrollment rose steeply from a couple of hundred students on average to about 8,500 students in September. Swallow said roughly half, between 4,000 and 5,000 students, remain enrolled in the program heading into the spring semester, when students again have the option to return to their base school. Many of the students who left during the fall semester returned to their base schools, while some opted for homeschooling or other learning alternatives, she said. The new leader said her first priority is assessing the organization of the program, especially around staffing, to ensure students are being successfully served. The school's organizational structure includes Swallow 4 additional staff members and base school virtual learning coordinators who assist students. Swallow said in the fall the district did a great job stepping up and providing the best opportunity, knowing the information we knew at the time. But she said now it is a good time to reflect on what educators have learned while navigating the swelling ranks of virtual-only students and make adjustments. In October, the Lafayette Parish School Board approved the addition of a curriculum coordinator for the academy. The position would pay $75,788.79, funded by one-time federal funds from the coronavirus relief package. Swallow said hiring for the position is on hold while she evaluates the program staffing. Swallow said another priority is using parent feedback to help inform program decisions. She said she frequently receives parent feedback in emails, messages, and phone calls, but would like to establish a formal surveying system in the future. Research efforts will also be focused outside the district. Swallow said she values networking and will look to other districts' virtual learning programs for best practices and new ideas. One idea that is expected to undergo a few changes is a virtual program's curriculum. I don't foresee us changing anything drastically coming forward. I feel we have a really good program, Swallow said. I could say in education, we're always looking for the best. So to say that would never happen, absolutely not. But that's not one of the goals on the forefront right now. The new administrator said she wants to use her recent experience as a school-based leader to build a sense of community around Lafayette Online Academy and improve communications with parents. I hope families will feel like the communication is fluid, and if they have concerns, that I am responsive to their concerns and I can speak with facilitators to be the liaison for their children's education, Swallow said. I hope families feel like their child is part of a school. One of my biggest goals is to create an environment at LOA that the community feels as comfortable in as they would in any traditional school. Swallow says she views virtual learning as an important growth area for education and believes demand will continue to increase as more families search for flexible options to meet diverse needs. She says she personally understands the benefits of non-traditional programs. She graduated from an alternative high school program with her GED before attending college. It's about choice. It's about giving families another option without having to take on the full workload of homeschooling themselves. Okay, moving on to state news. In Lake Charles, the mayor tests positive for virus by Ken Stickney, staff writer. Lake Charles Mayor Nick Hunter tested positive for COVID-19 last week, according to an announcement he made Monday on his Facebook page. I've had to cancel several public engagements this week and felt it better to just let people know what's going on, he said in the social media post. I'm doing well, resting at home and following the advice of my physician. Hunter, mayor of Louisiana's fifth largest city, was elected to that position in 2017 after service on the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury. Since becoming mayor, the lifelong Lake Charles resident has focused his efforts on drainage improvements, public parks, lake development, and street, sidewalk, and transportation improvements. In addition to COVID-19 this year, Lake Charles has been beset by two major hurricanes, Laura in August and Delta in October. The former brought winds of 150 miles per hour to the city. The latter dumped some 20 inches of rain in the area. Lake Charles continues to face problems related to housing and joblessness after the hurricanes battered the city. Many of the city's 70,000 residents have not yet returned because their homes were destroyed or heavily damaged. City Council Vice President Rodney Guin said he learned about the mayor's positive test early on Monday. He said none of the council members have been in close proximity to the mayor lately and none is expected to quarantine. He said the mayor participated in a council meeting on Zoom last week. He will be operating from his home, Gayon said. He has a wonderful staff in place and will be carrying on. The city council's next meeting is set for Wednesday, Gayon said. Early last year, Lake Charles instituted precautions to limit public appearances, practice social distancing, and wear masks to ensure guidance of public health agencies and local medical experts were being followed by city personnel, an issue statement said. Next story, hospitals to offer shots to older adults by Sam Carlin, staff writer. With vaccinations lagging 3 weeks into the state's effort, Louisiana's health agency this week directed hospitals to start inoculating older adults and an expanded group of healthcare workers at pharmacies around the state start doling out small numbers of doses. The state, as of Tuesday, had only administered 56,452 doses of the vaccine after being allotted more than 210,000 doses in recent weeks. About 56,000 of the doses went to a federal program through Walgreens and CVS to immunize residents and staff of nursing homes and other long-term care facilities. The rest went to hospitals and other providers. Allowing older adults access to the vaccine appears to be kickstarting the state's vaccination program after thousands of health workers at the state's major hospital systems have declined to take advantage of the vaccine so far. Still, there are a host of hurdles. People 70 and older who are not eligible for vaccinations flooded phone lines at pharmacies and hospitals this week, vying for a limited number of doses. Most appear to land on wait lists or struck out. The state received only 10,500 doses for pharmacies, equaling about 100 each at the 107 locations selected. Hospitals have an unknown number of doses for use on older adults because shots for health workers are ongoing as people slowly sign up. Ochsner Health and the Franciscan Missionaries of Our Lady Health System, two of the state's biggest health systems, are offering vaccinations to people who are existing patients of their respective hospitals. Baton Rouge Our Lady of the Lake and Lafayette Our Lady of Lourdes regional medical centers are part of the Franciscan missionary system. Ochsner began the immunizations Monday to older adults and other health workers in the state's Phase 1B priority group, while Our Lady of the Lake has started doling out vaccines only to healthcare workers in Phase 1B. The lake said it intends to begin immunizing older adults soon. The Louisiana Department of Health directed hospitals to start vaccinating people in the first tier of Phase 1B if they have doses that exceed the number of workers who have signed up for shots in the first phase. Effective immediately, please begin to use any remaining current and future vaccine allotments that exceed your interested hospital staff to begin vaccinating older adults and a list of other health workers, including outpatient clinic staff, urgent care providers, home health providers, and recipients and others, the agency said in a memo. Christina Stevens, spokesperson for Governor John Bel Edwards, said, "We are leaving it to hospitals to effectively administer the vaccine doses they have. As more doses are available to the state, they will be expanding options for people to get the vaccine. After being allocated more than 210,000 doses in the first 3 weeks, Louisiana got 10,500 doses of Moderna's vaccine to send to pharmacies this week." Allie Neal, a spokesperson for the health department, said the state doesn't keep track of how many of the 56,000 doses that went to the federal nursing home program have reached the state. Next week, the state expects 28,275 doses of Pfizer's vaccine and 27,500 doses of Moderna's vaccine, Neal said. Older adults inundated hospitals and pharmacies with calls and requests for appointments after learning they were eligible. At New Orleans East Hospital, spokesperson Azizia Landrum said the response was overwhelming and the hospital has filled its appointment capacity. That's a turnaround for the first phase of the vaccination program, which began in mid-December and offered vaccine to hospital workers. New Orleans East Hospital has vaccinated about 105 of its 399 staff members, Landrum said, though the hospital is still offering vaccines to its workers. She said the hospital's main priority is vaccinating staff, and they can get the vaccine at any time. Dr. Robert Hart, Chief Medical Officer at Ochsner Health, said the system has vaccinated about half of its 26,000 employees. In all, the system has administered more than 16,000 doses, according to a spokesperson, including to Ochsner employees, community physicians, first responders, and other health care providers across the state. Hart said the numbers are not surprising when compared with national surveys, several of which show about 40% of people say they will get the vaccine, while another significant chunk say they will probably get it. For instance, a Kaiser Family Foundation survey in December found 41% of people will definitely get vaccinated, while 30% will probably get vaccinated. Actually, when I've seen some of those surveys, I'm actually pretty pleased in our first run through. We're closer to 50%, Hart said. When we opened up to 70, as we've done, it definitely changed the dynamics. We had a lot of interest yesterday, a lot of phone calls about it. People were signing up on My Ochsner just as quickly as they could. Ochsner received another shipment of about 8,000 doses Monday, Hart said. The system is limiting the vaccinations to older adults who are already patients of Ochsner because it will be able to move through appointments more quickly. He said the system eventually hopes to extend its vaccination efforts to the public statewide when doses become available. Scott Wester, President and CEO of Our Lady of the Lake, said the system has administered about 7,000 vaccines compared with 17,000 workers across the state. The system began vaccinating healthcare workers newly eligible into Phase 1B last week. He added and will soon roll it out to people 70 and older. Wester said he believes the holidays tamped down enthusiasm for the vaccine against some staff. Some people took time off or otherwise didn't want to experience side effects during the holidays. He said every day more workers are scheduling appointments to get vaccinated. The lake will also only vaccinate people who are connected to the system's physician groups, Wester said, and there are more than 50,000 such people who qualify. That's a large cohort, he said. They're already in our system. They're already in our electronic health records. While a fraction of Our Lady of the Lake staff is taking advantage of the vaccine so far, Wester said he's not yet concerned and expects more to receive their shot in the coming weeks. And now we're going to go to our halfway mark in our broadcast this morning, where we always do the day in history and the zodiac. So today is Wednesday, January 6th, the 6th day of 2021. There are 359 days left in the year. There are potentially 359 shopping days left in the year, as I say. Today's highlight in history: on January 6, 2001, with Vice President Al Gore presiding in his capacity as President of the Senate, Congress formally certified George W. Bush the winner of the bitterly contested 2000 presidential election. On this date in 1412, tradition holds that Joan of Arc was born on this day in Domremy. In 1540, England's King Henry VIII married his fourth wife, Anne of Cleves. The marriage lasted about 6 months. Also on this date in 1912, New Mexico became the 47th state. In 1919, the 26th President of the United States, Theodore Roosevelt, died in Oyster Bay, New York at age 60. 1941, President Franklin D. Roosevelt, in his State of the Union address, outlined a goal of 4 freedoms: freedom of speech and expression, the freedom of people to worship God in their own way, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. In 1968, a surgical team at Stanford University School of Medicine in Palo Alto, California, led by Dr. Norman Shumway, performed the first U.S. adult heart transplant, placing the heart of a 43-year-old man into a 54-year-old patient. The recipient died 15 days later. In 1994, figure skater Nancy Kerrigan was clubbed on the leg by an assailant at Detroit's Cobo Arena. 4 men, including the ex-husband of Kerrigan's rival, Tonya Harding, went to prison for their roles in the attack. Harding pleaded guilty to conspiracy to hinder prosecution, but denied any advance knowledge about the assault. Also on this date in 1998, in a new bid to expand health insurance, President Clinton unveiled a proposal to offer Medicare coverage to hundreds of thousands of uninsured Americans from ages 55 to 64. In 2005, former KKK leader Edgar Ray Keelan was arrested on murder charges 41 years after 3 civil rights workers were slain in Mississippi. Keelan was later convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 60 years in prison. He died in prison in 2018. In 2017, Congress certified Donald Trump's presidential victory over the objections of a handful of House Democrats, with Vice President Joe Biden pronouncing it is over. 10 years ago, U.S. Defense Secretary Robert Gates announced he would cut $78 billion from the Defense Department budget over the next 5 years in an effort to trim fat in light of the nation's ballooning deficit. 5 years ago, North Korea said that it had conducted a powerful hydrogen bomb test, a claim greeted with widespread skepticism. 1 year ago, throngs of Iranians attended the funeral of General Qasem Soleimani, who had been killed in a U.S. airstrike in Iraq. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei wept while praying over the casket. Former White House National Secretary Advisor John Bolton said he was prepared to testify if subpoenaed by the Senate in its impeachment trial of President Donald Trump. The Senate voted against calling witnesses, and that was 1 year ago. Today's birthday, we have former FBI Director Louis Freeh, he is 71. Rock singer musician Kim Wilson, Fabulous Thunderbirds, the harmonica player, is 70 years old today. Singer Jet Williams is 68. Actor-comedian Rowan Atkinson is 66. believe that's Mr. Bean. World Golf Hall of Famer Nancy Lopez, 64. Rhythm and blues singer Kathy Sledge from Sister Sledge, is 62. Rhythm and blues singer Eric Williams from Blackstreet is 61. Actor Norman Reedus is 52, well known for his portrayal on TV series Walking Dead. TV personality Julie Chen is 51. Actor Rinko Kikuchi is 40. Actor Eddie Redmayne is 39. And retired NBA All-Star Gilbert Arenas is 39. Taking a look at the zodiac, if you're a Capricorn, you need to take a moment to evaluate the situations before letting your emotions take charge. Use discretion when discussing matters with a friend, relative, or peer. Pay close attention to detail. Aquarius, take pride in what you do. You'll gain support if you think for yourself instead of following someone's lead. Do your best to make a difference. Let your intuition guide you. Pisces, stick to the people you know and trust. Stay alert and concentrate on your responsibilities. Shared expenses will lead to uncertainty. Don't pay for someone's mistake. Aries, connect with people who can help you achieve your objective. Refuse to let an emotional situation get blown out of proportion. Anger solves nothing. Be prepared to compromise. Taurus, expect to face opposition if you voice your opinion. Have your facts straight and remember to use diplomacy if you want to get things done. Acting in haste will lead to uncertainty. Gemini, physical activity will be challenging if you compete with someone who doesn't play fair. Consider what you are up against and whether it's in your best interest. Emotions will run high regarding family matters. Put your ego aside and look at the facts. You'll come up with a solution that will appease everyone involved. Physical fitness will ease stress. Leo, keep your life simple. The less you interact with others, the easier it will be to get things done. Focus on home improvements. Romance is on the rise. Look into starting a side business. Virgo, refuse to let anyone talk you into something risky or that might put you in debt. Spend more time taking care of your financial, physical, and emotional well-being. Don't fold under pressure. And that's my birth sign. Libra, charm will help deflect a demanding someone. Offer solutions in place of bailing someone out physically or financially. Pay more attention to what you want. Scorpios, a change of heart will cause short-term uncertainty. Take a step back and you will discover what you can do to turn around a bothersome situation. Honesty and facts matter. And finally, Sagittarius. Check in with someone you have collaborated with successfully, and you'll be offered options that pique your interest. Before you jump in, consider the possible consequences. And the horoscope, as always, is an entertainment feature not based on scientific fact. And going along with what I've been doing in the last couple of days this week, from the Rolling Stone magazine, listing all the musicians who we lost in 2020, doing 5 per day. So the next 5 includes, number 1, Leslie West. He was the guitarist for the group Mountain, who belted out that infamous rock and roll hit, Mississippi Queen, died at 75. The towering guitarist who created the hard rock milestone Mississippi Queen with his band Mountain died from cardiac arrest. Also, Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac co-founder and guitar great, died at age 73. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee formed rock group with fellow blues breaker Mick Fleetwood in 1967. Also, Tony Allen. Tony Allen was a pioneering Afrobeat drummer who died at 79. Without Tony Allen, there would be no Afrobeat Fela Kuti, one set of legendary African 70s drummer. Charlie Pride, pioneering black country singer, died at the age of 86 this past year. Country Music Hall of Fame member, died in Texas from complications related to COVID-19. And finally, Kenny Rogers. Kenny Rogers, country music's The Gambler, died at 81. Rogers was one of music's true crossover artists, scoring hits in both country and popular songs like Islands in the Stream and Lucille. Okay, going back into the news, continuing with the state news, Louisiana emergency election plan advances. Panel's OK proposal maintaining once controversial mail ballot expansion with little fanfare. Staff writer by Sam Carlin, staff writer. I'm taking a little sip of tea here. Thank you. An emergency election plan that prompted a partisan war over mail ballots last fall easily passed two legislative committees Tuesday, clearing the way for Louisiana to keep in place expanded mail balloting for upcoming local and congressional elections. Secretary of State Kyle Ardoin, a Republican, proposed the same procedures for the February, March, and April elections as the state had in place for the December 5th contest at the direction of a federal judge. The plan allows people who meet certain criteria, including those with underlying health conditions and others affected by the pandemic, to access absentee ballots. The Republican-led Senate and Governmental Affairs and House and Governmental Affairs committees announced a plan to the full legislature without objection on Tuesday. The full support suggests Louisiana may avoid the partisan battling over the election rules that took place last fall. The full legislature and Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards will still sign off on the plan. The governor has reviewed the emergency election plan to ensure it protects the voting rights and health of the public during the pandemic and will approve it, said Christina Stevens, a spokesperson for Edwards. Ardoin said the courts have spoken on the issue and scaling back the mail ballots would likely lead to another expansion of absentee ballots regardless. We need to make certain voting isn't safe and we can take place amongst this pandemic, he said. The legislative committee votes were a turnaround for the fall balloting plans when GOP lawmakers balked at an expansion of mail ballots ahead of a presidential contest in which the President Donald Trump rallied against the practice. Ardoin said last fall he couldn't win support for the same plan for the GOP-dominated legislature and said he proposed a plan approved by those two committees that didn't expand mail ballots to people affected by COVID-19, prompting a veto from Edwards. A federal judge then stepped in to order the state to expand mail ballots. But even with those protocols in place for November and December elections, a small number of people, 5,476 in November and 1,217 in December, took advantage of the COVID-19 mail ballots. With all the teeth gnashing we did over the COVID ballot, an extraordinarily small number of people took advantage of that ballot, said Senate and Governmental Affairs Committee Chairwoman Sharon Hewitt, Republican Slidell. Mail voting did soar to record levels in the 2020 presidential contest, but largely because people 65 and older, who are already allowed to vote by mail under current law, took advantage of the practice. Early voting also soared during the election. A plan advanced by lawmakers Tuesday allows people to receive a mail ballot if they are at higher risk of COVID-19 because of serious underlying medical conditions, subject to a medically necessary quarantine or isolation order, advised by a health provider to quarantine, experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, and seeking a diagnosis, or caring for someone who is quarantined or in isolation. That mirrors the rules for the summer and fall elections. It doesn't include extra days of early voting that were in place before the November presidential election. Those extra days were not required by the judge for the December election because of an expected drop-off in turnout, and Ardoin said he expects turnout to be low for the upcoming elections. The elections offered by the new plan includes a special legislative election in Southwest Louisiana next month to fill the State House seat left vacant by Stephen Dwight, who was elected district attorney of Calcasieu Parish. In addition, the plan affects March and April elections that are expected to be the dates of the primaries and runoff elections, respectively, for the U.S. House seats left vacant by Lou Coletlo and Cedric Richmond. Ludlow died of complications of COVID-19 last month, days before being sworn in. Richmond said he will soon leave for a senior post in President-elect Joe Biden's White House. Governors didn't have the power to appoint a U.S. House member to fill a vacancy until the election is held. Instead, the governor sets a date for a special election according to Louisiana's election law. Okay. Next up, for all of you Mardi Gras-ers, which is most of us in this area, this article will speak out to you. This article is entitled Mardi Gras for Y'all Invites World to Immersive Virtual Carnival Celebration by Doug McCash, staff writer. The spirit of Mardi Gras will roll on in 2021, propelled by some of New Orleans' best-loved celebrities and the wonders of technology. A 3-night, 4.5-hour online spectacular called Mardi Gras for All Y'all will bring New Orleans' signature celebration to the world. Mardi Gras for All Y'all is presented by NOLA.com and Blaine Curran's Mardi Gras World. Shown on the NOLA.com and the Avid.com news websites, YouTube and Facebook Live, Mardi Gras for All Y'all will bring viewers closer to the sights and sounds of Carnival, with celebrity interviews, musical performances, and Carnival and Carnival features narrating the history of the celebration and the New Orleans unique culture. John Georges, owner of NOLA.com, and Barry Curran, CEO of Blaine Curran's Mardi Gras World, joined forces to create the event. We wanted to produce a free virtual event to showcase New Orleans and Louisiana for those who love Mardi Gras around the globe, Georges said. Curran sees the production as an opportunity to tell the story of Mardi Gras accurately to locals as well as the wider world. I wanted to give people the understanding of what Mardi Gras really is, he said. It's an incredible cultural event. For New Orleanians, it's a family event where generations of families come together. It's a celebration that's owned by all of us. And it's super important that people understand the economic benefit of not only Mardi Gras, but all these things we do in our city, Jazz Fest and other events. They mean business for tens of thousands of families in our community. The program, which is scheduled to be shown in 3 segments on February 12th through the 14th, provides an insider tour led by celebrities such as NBC Today show co-anchor Hoda Kotb, author Walter Isaacson, musician Troy Trombone Shorty Andrews, actor Brian Batt, political guru James Carville, and New Orleans Saints legend Archie Manning. They will give viewers an introduction to the many moving parts that make Mardi Gras the inclusive experience it is. 8 years, hundreds of thousands of people each year, hundreds of thousands of people attend the greatest free show on earth in person and online via NOLA.com. 92 million unique viewers annually, NOLA.com is distinctly positioned to broadcast a virtual Mardi Gras experience to a vast audience, touching every country on earth, Georges said. And the show will accurately project the diversity of the community, which makes Mardi Gras such a vibrant event, he said. Viewers will visit with the renowned 149-year-old parading group Rex, the wickedly satirical all-female crew of muses, and the famous Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club. They will meet the crew of Armenius, New Orleans' largest gay carnival organization. Viewers will be beguiled by the Muffalettas, a dance troupe in the guise of saucy diner waitresses. They will be good-naturedly menaced by the Northside Skull and Bones gang, a crowd of rowdy skeletons, and they will be mystified by the indefinable allure of the 6'10" stompers who call themselves ordinary men with extraordinary moves. It wouldn't be a proper tour of New Orleans without music, of course, and Mardi Gras for All Y'all. Viewers will be welcome to sing along with Al Carnival Time Johnson, groove to the ever-funky George Porter Jr. and Leo Nocentelli, and wave a handkerchief along with the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. With Chief Extraordinaire Emerald Lagasse in the house, viewers can also count on some Creole, Cajun, and cross-cultural cooking in the mix. Featuring 90 individual segments, including 51 features and 20 performances, Mardi Gras for All Y'all promises to be a fast-paced online experience for a global audience. New Orleans-based videographers, writers, and artists were hired to create an authentic vibe. The broadcast will be repeated on Lundi Gras and Mardi Gras, which is February 16th this year. The marathon video is produced as a collaboration of New Orleans stakeholders, including the Louisiana Office of Tourism, the New Orleans and Company Tourism Bureau, the Ernest N. Memorial Convention Center, Tulane University, Crystal Hot Sauce, the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, the National World War II Museum, Mardi Gras World, and the Times-Picayune New Orleans Advocate. Spirit of Louisiana Mardi Gras is alive and well in 2021, said Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser, who heads up the state's tourism efforts. Even with the current challenges brought on by the pandemic, we are excited to bring a virtual Mardi Gras celebration to the world. We wish we were all meeting in person, but I promise these upcoming virtual events showcasing our music, culture, and love of life is just what we all need to jumpstart this new year. The program will explore the history and culture of Mardi Gras through the eyes of those who know it best, including the historians of the Rex organization. Mardi Gras is the ultimate celebration of life and culture, and it's critical economically to a city that derives 43% of its operating budget from tourism, said Stephen Perry, President and CEO of New Orleans and Company. On behalf of the 100,000 New Orleanians whose livelihoods come from the cultural economy, we are pleased to show the world through NOLA.com that our sacred carnival tradition is moving forward safely, even in the midst of the pandemic. The New Orleans Ernest N. Memorial Convention Center is pleased to support NOLA.com and keeping the spirit of Mardi Gras virtually alive for the world in these challenging times, wrote Michael Saway, Convention Center president. The Convention Center is indelibly linked to Mardi Gras, annually hosting numerous activities from the very smallest tableau to super crews, balls, and parades. The Convention Center also depends on this uniquely New Orleans celebration to attract thousands of visitors who help fuel our economy and look forward to doing what we do best, hosting live events. Okay, let me check something here, folks. Let's see if there's any other news stories we can relate before we get into sports. Okay, well, we'll just move on to sports then. Here's an article called Devontae's Time. I Met to Rejoices as native son Smith wins 2020 Heisman by Wilson Alexander, staff writer. From Amit, houndstooth and crimson decorations top tables next to bottles of hand sanitizer inside the Amit Community Center as a fraction of the town's population gathered to watch the 2020 Heisman Trophy ceremony. Wearing commemorative shirts, about 125 people sat quietly around tables for more than an hour Tuesday night. They waited in nervous anticipation, hoping to celebrate one of the most famous natives, Alabama wide receiver Devontae Smith. The town had watched Smith grow from a skinny boy resident called Tay-Tay into one of the most dynamic players in the country. When Smith won the award during a virtual presentation, the crowd broke its silence, erupting into cheers. One man lifted a metal folding chair above his head, another danced, they clapped and screamed. At the front of the room, Smith's mother raised her arms and shook inside her chair. His father looked over and clapped. Christina Smith, Sylvia, and Kelvin Dickerson heard the announcement a split second before the rest of the crowd and hugged each other. Friends and family surrounded them as Smith accepted the trophy inside Alabama's practice facility. He smiled. To all the young kids out there that are not the biggest, not the strongest, keep pushing, Smith said. I'm not the biggest. I've been doubted a lot because of my size. It really comes down to, if you put your mind to it, you can do it. No job is too big. Just keep believing in God and you'll get where you want to be. Smith became the fourth wide receiver to capture the most prestigious award in college football and the first since Desmond Howard in 1991. Nebraska wide receiver Johnny Rogers won in 1972, and Notre Dame wide receiver Tim Brown won in 1987. Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence finished second. Alabama quarterback Mac Jones came in third, and Florida quarterback Kyle Trask was fourth. Quarterbacks had taken the honor 17 of the last 20 seasons. While Howard and Brown also returned punts and kicks, Smith won the trophy almost entirely playing wide receiver. The most productive player at the position in the FBS this season, Smith finished first in receptions, 105, yards receiving, 1,641, all-purpose yards, 1,912, and receiving touchdowns, 20. Despite defenses focusing on him after Jalen Waddle injured his ankle in late October, Smith also scored one rushing touchdown and returned a punt for a touchdown. Smith climbed through record books throughout the season. He broke the Southeastern Conference record for career receiving touchdowns with 40, and he could break the Alabama career receptions record, the second single-season touchdown record, and the SEC career receiving years record next Monday in the College Football Playoff National Championship against Ohio State. 3 years ago, as a true freshman, Smith burst into college football lore when he caught the game-winning touchdown in overtime to beat Georgia for the national championship, a play known ever since as 2nd and 26. Smith continued to produce, but other Alabama wide receivers, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs III, and Waddle, sometimes overshadowed him. Smith might have gone early in the NFL draft after scoring a school record 14 touchdowns his junior year, but Smith returned for his senior season to pursue his degree. The 6'1", 175-pound receiver dominated, and after Waddle's injury, Smith averaged 155 yards and caught 16 touchdowns over 7 games, helping lead Alabama to an undefeated record for the national title game. Before all that, Smith grew up around Amite, a small town about halfway between New Orleans and Jackson, Mississippi, that advertises its annual Oyster Festival and quiet lifestyle. Smith graduated from Meade High and picked Alabama, turning at least some residents into Crimson Tide fans who cheered for Tay-Tay. I personally want Devontae to know how proud we are and how honored we are for him to call Meade home, Mayor Walter Daniels said in a letter read before the ceremony. Pictures from Smith's college career hung on a corkboard near the entrance to the community center as people filled the main room. Most of the attendees wore customized white t-shirts created for the occasion. They featured a picture of Smith catching a pass between his nickname Smitty and Heisman 2020 on the front. His name and number were printed on the back. Wearing a deep crimson velvet tuxedo, Smith watched the ceremony from Alabama's facility after a practice. Once he won, his friends and family back home burst into celebration, hugging one another and taking pictures. Their native star had cemented himself in college football history. It's unbelievable to come from a small place like that, Smith said. You just really have to work hard day in and day out and just believe in yourself. If nobody else believes in you, you just have to believe in yourself and prove everybody wrong. All right, and let's take a look at the funerals. My funerals today in the Kittiana area. Judy Como, St. Michael the Archangel Catholic Church at 2 p.m. And that about wraps it up for this morning's broadcast. As always, we appreciate here at AOC for you tuning in and listening. This has been the Local News Live for today, January 6, 2020. My name is Bruce Cohen, and will always be Bruce Cohen. You can join us every Monday through Friday morning at 9 a.m. till around 10 a.m. on AOC One, our streaming radio service, Cypress Street Radio, or our YouTube channel, AOC Community Media. You can also read the stories and more at theadvocate.com and find out how to volunteer and more at aocinc.org. That's AOCINC Inc. AOCINC.org. You go to the volunteer page on our homepage, pull down the volunteer tab, look for the newspaper reading volunteer form, fill it out, and Miss Mandy or Miss Matt will get in touch with you and make you a part of our newspaper reading family. And all of us have been doing it from our home studios since the pandemic started, and probably will be for a few more months at least, hopefully getting back into the podcast booth at some point in time. So this again has been Bruce Cohen. I ask you to be safe and healthy and smart out there. Continue to follow all the COVID-19 protocols that we talk about all the time. Just be smart out there when you're in the public. And as I always say every morning, be kind to each other. Have a great day. See you on the flip-flop.